आवाज ये नहीं।
Hello, good morning to all.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, so now let us start with this presentation. Sorry for some technical glitch you were having. Now this SPI mode operation we were trying to understand, and then when you are using this SPI mode operation, so these are the controls used. So you can have the operation of the device, peak microcontroller device, in either master mode or slave mode. If it is a master mode, SCK pin will be the output clock pin. If it is a slave mode, SCK pin of the microcontroller will be input pin. So then clock polarity need to be decided. So this particular slide talks about which bits of SSP con and SSP stat register plays important role in deciding this clock rate. Now again, these registers are controlling the mode operation. So SSP shift register, as we have discussed, it is not physically available or accessible for the user, but it is there in the block diagram. Also we have seen this SSP shift register. This is used for data input or output, which is converting the serial data into parallel one or parallel into serial one. Then SSB buff register is useful. So this should hold the data which you want to transfer. So the like in 8051 microcontroller we were having SBUF registers. So like that in peak microcontroller we have register called as SSP buff register. So whenever you want to transfer the data, your responsibility through the code is, as a programmer, you should write the data into SSP buff register. Then in receive operation, which registers are used? SSP shift register is used and SSP buff register is used for the reception also. So remember that during the transmission, SSP buff is not double buffered. So this double buffering is related to when you are transmitting the data. When you are transmitting the data, sometimes it is possible that 2 bytes you can load and one after the other the byte will get transferred. We will see with the help of data sheet what this double buffering is. And then what last step you have to do is, when you want to use this module, after configuration of the module, what you have to do is you have to write to SSBUF register. So when you write to SSBUF write will result into writing to SSP shift register. So this is the interconnection diagram we have seen. So this is how you can have the interconnection. So 3 pins are shown here. One more pin which is slave select, so which is also available for SPI mode itself. So if you want to have multiple slaves, so that slave select pin will be used. So try to get again important aspect of synchronous communication, which is what you can have is, you can have a device as master, and the device which works as master will generate clock, and that clock will be available to other devices for synchronization clock. And then what we can do is, you can have either transmission or reception by the master, as well as slave can receive the data and slave can transfer the data. So this was the block diagram. This was the last point we discussed. This is the block diagram of the SPI mode. So hope, again, just let us revise what these blocks are. When you are doing that synchronous communication, so clock generation may be required if you are master. So this part of the block diagram, this part of the block diagram is related to generation of the clock, which is useful when you are master only. If you are slave, then you will be using the clock generated by some another device. So if you are slave, if you are master, this clock whatever you are generating will be available for the external world. And if you are slave, in that case whatever clock generated by some another master will be used directly. Okay, so this clock will be used by the shift register. So then this SDA and SDO pin are used for receiving the data. This is used for, this SDI is used for reception of the byte, and this SDO is used for transfer of the byte. So this is the block diagram we discuss. Now let us proceed. Now let us try to have overview of I2C protocol. This is quite popular protocol. Like today's days we are using USB, USB 3.0, USB 4.0, 5.0. These are some standard protocols quite widely used. So all we are using the memory storage, that is pen drives we are using. So that is following that USB protocol. Like that, before that USB, this I2C protocol was one of the popular protocols for the serial communication. So we will try to understand what this I2C protocol is. So as we have said that in case of MSSP there are two protocols, one is called as SPI, another is I2C. First I have introduced you what is SPI, then now we are discussing what is I2C protocol. I2C protocol is will provide you a bus. Bus means there will be two lines interconnection available. We will see that with the interface diagram. So one of the most important part of the embedded system. This has become one of the most important part of the embedded system. And various serial peripheral ICs are supporting this, and then you can have the communication between them. So its unique ability to maximize hardware efficiency and circuit simplicity. So you all will agree when we will see the block diagram of interconnection between the two devices using I2C, the circuit connection is very simple. I2C uses two bidirectional data lines. So bidirectional means on the same line you can transfer the data as well as receive the data. So two bidirectional data lines are required, and all I2C bus compatible devices incorporate an on-chip interface. So these devices correspond to some internal hardware. Every device, let us say a RTC IC is there, and that RTC IC supports I2C. So when it supports I2C, so there will be chip interface hardware available inside that, so that it can connect with any other I2C supported device. And then see, this is one important aspect, that when you are using I2C protocol, to how many devices you can connect, means one microcontroller can be connected up to 128 devices simultaneously. Okay, and then you can communicate with those devices by using I2C protocol. So this is one more important advantage, or the reason behind which, because of which most of us are using this I2C protocol in embedded system. So that's why, means where we are using exactly is serial E-square proms are there, IO expander ICs are there, then RTC real-time clock, ADC, serial ADCs are there, serial DACs are there, some sensors are also supporting this I2C, and then all those devices can be now connected to peak microcontroller because it supports I2C. Traditional, remember at traditional 8051 microcontroller, basic microcontroller was supporting only UART, universal asynchronous reception transmission. But look at peak features. Peak supports USART, means synchronous as well as asynchronous communication is possible using USART module, that is a separate hardware. In addition to that, it has MSSP hardware which supports this I2C protocol and SPS protocol, so that all these type of serial peripheral devices you can have connected to the microcontroller. Now let us try to understand. I have suppose n devices, that n will take value maximum 128. Now how I can have connection of these 128 devices maximum to the microcontroller. So remember, in the communication only one device will be a master. So here it is assumed that, for this discussion it is assumed that this particular device is master. Now when you say this device is a master, it will be responsibility of this device to generate a clock and make that clock available to all other peripherals. So this will give the clock to this slave, same master will give the clock to this slave also, like this. Now look at, every device has two pins. This has got SDA, this has got SCL, this has got SDA, this has got SCL. But remember, this SCL pin of master is output, because it is master, it is sending the data. So this pin is output, while this slave device has this particular pin as input. Same pin is used as input. Fine. And then you know that the data, if the master is sending data to the slave, let us say, then this pin will be output and this particular pin will be input. Suppose you are thinking of the communication, just if you are thinking of communication, let us say, taking place between these two devices. Okay. So if this master is sending the data here to the slave, in that case, this particular pin will be output pin and this will be input pin. And let us say the slave is communicating with the master, in that case this pin will be output. So that's why, remember earlier we have discussed that the pins are bidirectional, so that SDA and SCL pins are bidirectional. So this is how you can have the interface. So see how simple it is, only two lines are there and whatever devices. So this is called as I2C bus, which has got two lines. And remember here what this connection is called as, can anyone tell? If you find that, what is there, this is VCC and there are two registers of 10k and then those are connected to these buses. So can anyone tell what this connection is called as, what this circuit is called as? Anyone?
Sir, reset circuit.
No, it is, if it is a reset circuit, remember there is resistor and capacitor also. Anyone?
Of resistors.
It is not definitely reset circuit. Anyone, please answer. Okay, see, if nobody is answering, then it becomes difficult. So let us hope our faculty member Oursang sir is also joining this meet. So I know that Oursang sir will definitely answer this. Sir, what that register connection will be called as?
Pull up.
Exactly, sir. So these two registers are used for pull-up purpose, means these are two pull-up registers. So pull-up means what? Whatever may be the status here, initially these two lines will be held high. Okay, and then let us say this particular pin, SDA pin, goes low. When this SDA pin goes low, so what will be available is any pin of the IC goes low, means that pin you can think of getting connected to the ground, so that 0 volt will be available there. And if it is 1, so already this 1, that pulled high value will be available. So remember, this is one more additional connection you require. So the address line should be pulled high. Okay, so remember this connection, don't forget, if it is asked in the examination what is the interconnection between the I2C devices, and uh, draw that interface diagram. So many of you draw this but you forget this pull up, but this is one of the important aspect of the I2C interconnection. So I hope you understand, it is very simple interconnection. So only two pins you have to use, as compared to SPI. Also in SPI we were using 4 pins, so now only 2 pins are sufficient here. This is again the same diagram, just showing that you are developing some embedded system, and that embedded system require some peripherals to be connected, and those peripherals are also supporting, let us say, I2C protocol. So just think of this connection here. Maybe you can think of this is your PEEK microcontroller, and for your embedded project you require, let us say, accelerometer, as well you require some memory, E2PROM type of memory, and then OLED is required, and then this RTC is required. So in that case, if all those devices are supporting I2C protocol, so just you can have interconnection of all those devices to the PEEK microcontroller through these I2C lines. One is SDA, another is SCL. So these two lines are used, and again remember here also the two lines are pulled high. So this is how you can have the interconnection. Now talking about the SSP, this peak I2C module. So how you can implement this? So you can implement this module as you can have any device connected as master, and then all other devices will be functioning as slave. So it provides what are the functionalities or what are the features of I2C module of the peak microcontroller. So this is configuration, means your peak microcontroller can be configured as master, your peak microcontroller can be configured as slave also. So it provides interrupt also. So this is one provision, like this SPI mode. So SPI mode may result into interrupt when the byte is transferred successfully, it may generate interrupt. When the byte is received successfully, it may generate interrupt. Like that, it can provide, this I2C also can provide the interrupt. And then it can provide this addressing, means it supports this 7-bit and 10-bit addressing. Especially this 7-bit addressing will result into 128 different devices can be connected to the microcontroller through this I2C bus. Now when you want to use this I2C, then what hardware will be required, which pins will be required? So as just we have discussed, these are the two pins: port C pin number 3, which is SCK, and port C pin number 4, which is SDA, means serial data input output pin, and then this is SCL, means serial clock. So these are the two pins used for this I2C mode for peak microcontroller. Now this is regarding hardware. Now talking about the software. So these are the special function registers. So you may think that so many registers we are finding here, but out of these registers, few registers already we have discussed. So if you recall, out of these registers, already this MSSP control register was there in SPI, SSP status register was there. So this was already we have discussed in SPI mode. Then this particular shift register, sorry, this buffer register was there, and this shift register was also there. Okay, so these four registers were used in SPI mode also. So in addition to these four registers, two registers are used for the peak microcontroller. So in addition, this I2C mode, peak microcontrollers I2C modes, and which are those two registers? SSP con2 register and SSP address register. Okay, now what I will do is, again I will not switch to those registers and discussing the register format, because yesterday we observed that if you go on discussing those register formats and all, it takes much time, and then yesterday we haven't got time for discussion of the practicals. So what we will do is, we will skip this part. As well, I suggest that as far as the university exams are concerned, nobody will ask you the register formats for this I2C, remember. But what you should know about I2C is how many pins are required, at least which special function registers are used, and then what can be that interface. So just for view, these are the special function registers: SSP stat, SSP con1 and SSP con2. And then, like SPI mode, there is a block diagram for this I2C also. There is block diagram for this I2C also. And then this block diagram also, um just in brief we will discuss that what these registers are. So again, this SSB buff register is one important register, SSPSR. So just think of one example, that you are a master device and you are sending the data. So if you are a master device, then your responsibility will be to generate the clock. So this particular pin, start bit, stop bit, detect, generate, as well this particular baud rate generator part. So usually we say that baud rate generation is required for asynchronous communication, but initially in the initial discussion itself we have seen that. So the clock can be generated by the master, and what clock generated, it depends on the bits present in SSP ADD register. Okay, so you can generate the clock. If you are a master, you will generate the clock and you will make that clock available to the outside world. Then in synchronization with this clock, the other devices will receive the data. So if you want to send the data, how you will send the data is, suppose you have got some data in some file register. From file register you will take the data onto the internal bus, then it will go to the SSP buff register. From SSP buff register the data will go to the SSP shift register, and then through SSP shift register the same data will be available serially onto the SDA pin. The same data will be available onto the SDA pin. So this is how the transmission take place. Now the few blocks were present in SPI mode also. Now only thing is, here you will find that, so there is one thing called as match detect, and match detect is comparing between what, SSP ADD register and SSP SR register. So when this part is used, so let us go for understanding this part in brief. See, as we know that multiple slaves can be connected to a master. Let us say master is M and A, B, C, D are the slaves. M is master and A, B, C, D are the slaves. In that case, suppose M wants to communicate with C. If M wants to communicate with C, initially M will send the address of C. M will send address of C. So what will happen, how this part is used is, what I will get is, if you are a slave, in that case what you will do is, you will receive the address by the master. So master will send some address that it wants to communicate with, let us say C. So it will be the address of C will be available in SSPSR register. See, already C device SSP add register will have the same address. Okay, and when C will find that what address is sent by the master and what address is stored, means what my address is and what is sent by the master, they are same, they are same, means this, that particular slave will, when there is address match, that slave will come to know that yes, that master is trying to communicate with me only. Okay, so this is one, what we can say, additional part. Because again, if you go to this diagram, if you are sending some data, if you are sending some data, let us say this device is sending the data, so that data will be available onto SDA, and then SDA is this bus, and now this SDA is available connected to all this, means same data is available to all the slaves. And then if you want to communicate with, let us say, this particular slave only, so how it will be possible? So for that addressing is done, and then what happens is, initially the address is sent to all. This device will check, okay, what is the address. One device will say that what address is available in my address register and what is what address is received here, they are different. And as those addresses are different, this will not entertain the data. And then for device 3 only the addresses will match, and then only the communication will take place between the master and device number 3. So hope it is making some sense to you. So this is what we can say, address detect block. And then start and stop bit also can be generated. You can decide what will be start bit, whether it will be 1 or 0, and those will be generated, because you know that when you are transferring the data you are forming frame, and then not frame exactly, when you are doing synchronous communication, at least initially you should start with what should be the, you should decide what is the start bit and what is stop bit. So that is decided by this particular block. So just we have viewed this overviewed this block diagram. So for detail you may again refer the data sheet, and if you have any doubt you can ask me later. Okay, so like this, this is the diagram for the master, this is a diagram for the master, and this is a diagram for the slave. So if you just compare, this slave diagram is there, this is master diagram. So what is missing? Okay, just concentrate, this was the diagram for the master. Okay, and then this is the diagram for slave, only one part is missing here. Can you locate or can you identify what that part is? Anyone? So again this has to do with what is the difference.
Baud rate generator.
Baud rate
Exactly.
generator.
Exactly. Who is answering this? Vaishnavi? Vaddepalli?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Very good, Vaishnavi. So you have identified that. So ये in the case of this is the block diagram for the master. यहाँ पे ये baud rate generator जो block है, only that block is not available in the next part. Next part is what? Slave. So यहाँ पे ये baud rate generation नहीं है क्योंकि we know that baud rate generation is the duty of the master only. Okay. So all of the things are same. So now only thing is this is the point for you for thinking, and then in the next session we will have this comparison. So the point is, what is the difference between SPI and I2C protocol? What is the difference between SPI and I2C protocol? Okay. So with this I will say that today's discussion as far as the I2C protocol is concerned is over. Now we will be switching to the programming part. So till now, any doubt if you have, you may ask, or later also you may ask, and then we can discuss. So shall we switch to the programming part now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So whether the things are going correct means you are able to view the video clearly as well as audio is clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let us proceed. So now programming means which software should be used now? Which software should be used? Can we go for MATLAB for programming? Programming peak microcontroller, which software will be useful now?
MPLab.
MPLab, MPLab.
Right, right. MPLab XIDE will be useful there. Okay, so now so let me open that MPLab XIDE software. So as I said, today we will discuss two different programs. One is for relay interconnection and second is for 7-segment display interconnection. So you tell which program to discuss first?
7 segment.
7-segment?
7 segment.
Okay, fine. We will go for discussion
Seven
for
segment.
Okay, okay, fine. 7-segment program we will discuss first, and then we will go for what we can say that another program. Now, before that 7-segment, discussing that 7-segment program, just we will revise in brief. So, what are the types of 7-segment displays, and what is the difference between two types of displays called as common anode and common cathode display? Okay, so fine. This is something already shared with you. Now I will switch to that. Okay, fine. So this is the part. So there are basically two types of 7-segment displays. So first program which we are discussing is what we will do is we will use timer as a counter. Basically this experiment is designed where we will be using timer as a counter, and then whatever is the count available in the timer register we will display it onto the 7-segment display. So now we know that there are two types. This is just pictorial view of 7-segment display, how physically it will appear, and then technically these 7-segment displays are of two types. One is called as common anode 7-segment display and another is called as common cathode 7-segment display. Now when you are connecting or when you are using that 7-segment display, this is something you must know. according to the type of display your program will change. Okay, so now this is a configuration called as common cathode display. When it is a common cathode, all the cathodes are made common and they are connected to ground, remember. So and then when you want to glow a particular LED, you should output high, and then only you will get that LED is turning on. Okay, so Akshay, please mute your mic. And then common anode display. So this is a common anode display. So in case of common anode display, all the anodes are made common and are connected to plus. Remember, whatever program we are discussing, for that particular program, we are using this common anode display only. And then this type of very easily you can generate the truth table. This type of truth table can be generated, that suppose you want to display the numbers. So because you are using 7 segment display for showing the count present in the timer register, so I want to display numbers, let us say from 0 to 9. In that case, if you want to display 1 onto the 7 segment display, if you want to display 1, so then actually what you should output, or what you should give input to the common anode display is F9 hex. Okay, and this F9 stands for this particular bit combination. So this is already we have discussed it for 8051 microcontroller also. So remember, for PEEK microcontroller we will be using this program, we will be using this common anode display. Is it fine? So now we can switch to the programming part. Are you getting what is the difference between common anode and common cathode display? Yes, can anyone tell again what is the difference between common anode and common cathode display?
Yes, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Just yes, just tell me what is the difference between common anode and common cathode 7 segment display.
Sir, in common cathode, all cathodes are connected to ground,
Okay,
and in common anode, all anodes are connected to VCC.
so now, now you tell me, suppose I have written a code for common anode display, and at the time of connection I make connection to the common cathode display. मैंने प्रोग्राम लिखा है कॉमन एनोड के लिए, लेकिन मेरा डिस्प्ले कनेक्टेड है कॉमन कैथोड, तो डिस्प्ले होगा क्या वहां पे कोई डिजिट?
No, sir.
The thing is, some display will be there but display will not be as per your expectation. जैसे आपने 1 के लिए F9 कोड लिखा था, तो आप F9 लिखोगे तो वहां पे कुछ अलग ही दिखेगा अगर डिस्प्ले टाइप चेंज होता है तो. Okay, so now are you able to view the MPLAB X IDE window? All of you?
Yes, sir.
Fine. So now what I will do is I assume that now you know the procedure. Yesterday also in the previous session we have discussed the step-by-step procedure. Okay, so what I will do is, already I have that project created. I will just open the project. Okay, so if you are done the project and just you want to open it, so just go to open the project, and this is the 7 segment project already done. So it is already shared with you through the PDF also. So I have opened the project, which is PEEK 7 segment display interface. Now in this particular project there is one ASM file added. So I open that. I keep that file only. Okay, so now whether the code is readable, means whether you are comfortable in reading whatever the things are getting displayed. So can anyone
Yes, sir.
read this particular commented statement? Can anyone read?
Sir, it's not visible clearly.
Okay, let me do one thing slightly.
To do insert config
Code here.
here.
Okay, let me do one thing.
Sir, I'm looking clear. No, sir, your fount, your your right side fount is there.
Just a minute. Let me check. Can I increase the font?
That's it.
Okay, so now this may be somewhat better. So to do insert means this is available in the skeleton itself. कि configuration word जो है, here you have to insert that configuration word. So already I have opened the existing project. So already this configuration word is available here. Okay, in the previous class also I have given you that information कि how to get this. Suppose this code is not present here. Okay, uh, see the your configuration code is not present here. So how will get that configuration code? Can anyone tell? Configuration bits, how will get that? So to get those configuration bits, what you have to do is you have to click on Windows, then target memory views, and then click on configuration bits. And in these configuration bits, just make oscillator FOSC as XT, and all other configuration bits you make it off. Just if you want to have the simulation, in that case all other bits we will make it off. And then if you do this configuration, just click on generate source code. So click on generate source code, and then you will get this particular code. You just make copy of it and then paste it here. So now this is something you were having initially also. So this is how you can deal with the configuration word. Okay, so are you getting this, how to add configuration word to your program?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Fine. So we all know that your program will start with the start. ये start के आगे आपका program रहेगा. Okay, so now let us try to understand the programming aspect, means what, how this program works. Okay, so now what I will do is I will go for instructions one by one and I will add comments as per the program. Okay, so and then so that you will understand that how this program works, and later I will share this ASM file to you. Is it fine? Is it fine?
Yes, sir.
Sir, the font was little bit lighter.
Yes. What you want?
सर फॉन्ट थोड़ा लाइट दिख रहा है मतलब है actually.
Okay. Mm. Okay, there is no option like keep making that text as bold. So somehow we should proceed with this type of view only. So let us start with this.
Fine, sir.
Now first instruction is move LW. So what you are doing is you are initializing the working register with 0000, and then bank select TRISB. What this will do? This is assembler directive. This will select the bank in which TRISB register is there, and then what I will do is move WF TRISB. मीन्स वर्किंग रजिस्टर में हमने जो 0 लिखा है वो जाएगा TRISB पे, and then when you make this particular TRISB bits 0, it indicates that all port pins will be output pins, right? Because if you make TRIS bits as 0, the pin will be configured as output. If I make it 1, then that pin will be configured as input, right? So now one more thing, what you are doing is, as I said, in this program what you will do is you will use timer as a counter, timer 0 as a counter. You know what is the difference between timer and counter? Okay, counter means external pulses need to be counted. So now those external pulses will be available onto timer pin, and timer 0 pin is pin number 4 of port A register. Port A register. So you need to configure the TRIS A, means because you want to configure that pin as input, पोर्ट ए की पिन को आपको इनपुट बोल के कॉन्फ़िगर करना है, तो आपको ट्रिस ए रजिस्टर से डील करना पड़ेगा. Okay, so what you will do is make that this instruction BSF tris A comma 4. What this will do? This will set tris A bit number 4. In other words, this will configure port A pin 0 as input. Okay, so you will configure that एक पिन इनपुट रहेगी जहां पे आपको पल्सेस मिलेंगे काउंटर के, एंड पोर्ट बी पे आप आउटपुट करोगे जो भी 7 सेगमेंट का डेटा है, तो वो पोर्ट बी आउटपुट बोल के कॉन्फ़िगर किया है, एंड पोर्ट ए का एक पर्टिकुलर पिन इनपुट बोल के कॉन्फ़िगर किया है. ओके, नाउ नेक्स्ट इज you are dealing with the option register. You are dealing with the option register, and what you are doing is you are loading 38H into the option register. Now 38H value loaded into option register will result into making the configuration of your timer 0 in counter mode, one thing, as well the prescaler is there. For timer 0 we have got prescaler, so prescaler assign will be 1:1 only. Prescaler assign will be 1:1. So you know the option register format, so you can just identify. So here you will come to know that. So here timer 0 is used as counter and 1:1 prescaler, right? Okay, now what I will do is I will now one thing, you know that the TRIS registers are present in bank 1 and option register is present in bank 0. So before dealing with the option register, remember I have written that bank select option register because you need to go back to the bank 0 now. So now from here we will start. So move LW 38H. So this is the configuration of the timer. Now timer is configured. Fine. So next is I'm clearing this T0IF flag. Timer 0 inter flag bit is cleared. Now as such we are not using this, but still I clear that particular inter flag bit. Now what I do is I load 00H into the working register, because you know that you want to count the events, and events you will start counting like 1 2 3 4. So if no count is there, initially I want to display it as 0. If no external pulse is there, I want to display that it as 0. So that is initial display value is 0 0. So now what I do is I load that to the timer 0 register, means timer 0 gets initialized with value 0 0. Okay, so whenever one pulse appears, that timer 0 value will get incremented by 1, it will become 1. नेक्स्ट पल्स को बनेगी 2. अभी हमारे पास सिर्फ एक ही डिस्प्ले आप इंटरफेस करोगे एज अ बिकॉज ऑफ लिमिटेशंस ऑफ द टाइम एंड ऑल. सो लैब एक्सपेरिमेंट में क्या करेंगे, सिर्फ एक ही डिस्प्ले हम कनेक्ट करेंगे. अगर सिर्फ एक डिस्प्ले कनेक्टेड है तो डिस्प्ले क्या कर सकता है, 1 to 9, 1 to 9, 1 2 3 9, 9 के बाद काउंट में 10 आएगा, लेकिन 10 हम डिस्प्ले तो नहीं कर पाएंगे. सो व्हाट शुड हैपन फॉर आवर प्रोग्राम इज 9 के बाद अगर पल्स आती है तो नेक्स्ट काउंट शुड बी 0 ओनली, नेक्स्ट काउंट शुड बी 0 ओनली. सो नाउ व्हाट इज डन कि नाउ वी आर आउटपुटिंग कि अभी ये 0 जो है ये 7 सेगमेंट पे दिखना चाहिए. सो व्हाट वी डू इज द वैल्यू विच यू वांट टू डिस्प्ले, the value which you want to display onto the 7 segment, for that what I will do is the value I will load into the working register. जो भी आपको 7 सेगमेंट पे डिस्प्ले करना है उसका इफेक्टिव 7 सेगमेंट कोड जो है वो वर्किंग रजिस्टर में लिखो एंड देन डू वन थिंग, जो वैल्यू डिस्प्ले करनी है वो वर्किंग रजिस्टर में लिखो एंड देन कॉल 7 सेगमेंट सबरूटीन, call 7 segment subroutine. So are you following me?
Yes sir.
Yes, sir.
So अभी मुझे 0 डिस्प्ले करना है, 0 डिस्प्ले करना है तो मैं 0 वर्किंग रजिस्टर में लिखूंगा एंड आई विल कॉल अ रूटीन कॉल्ड एज 7 segment. Okay, now let us try to understand what happens in the 7 segment routine. Now in the 7 segment routine, so here you will find that 7 segment routine. Okay, so now what I'm doing here is I'm adding the contents of working register to PCL. I'm adding the contents of working register to PCL. PCL is what? Lower byte of the program counter register. See, I know that when this particular instruction is getting executed, when this instruction is getting executed, what will be the contents of program counter? Program counter will be pointing to this particular instruction. Program counter always points the next instruction to be executed. तो प्रोग्राम काउंटर के लोअर बाइट में क्या है, इसका एड्रेस है. पीसीएल में क्या है, इस इंस्ट्रक्शन का एड्रेस का लोअर बाइट है. ओके, अभी देखो अगर मुझे 0 डिस्प्ले करना है तो पीसीएल में मैं 0 ऐड करूंगा. तो जब पीसीएल में 0 ऐड करोगे तो आपके पास ये एड्रेस है, आपके पास जो है ये एड्रेस है, यहां पे पॉइंट कर रहा है बाय डिफॉल्ट. ठीक है, अभी मुझे 0 डिस्प्ले करना है तो मैं पीसीएल में 0 ऐड करूंगा. तो एनी वैल्यू में अगर 0 ऐड करोगे तो कुछ चेंज होगा नहीं होगा. तो पीसी क्या रहेगा, यही रहेगा. अभी और ये क्या है, C0 क्या है, C0 is the code for displaying 0. अगेन कम टू दिस, ये जो आपने पीडीएफ है इसमें C0 क्या है, C0 is the code for displaying 0 onto the 7 segment display. तो आपको 0 डिस्प्ले करना था इसलिए आपने 0 वर्किंग रजिस्टर में लिखा और वर्किंग रजिस्टर में आपने क्या ऐड कर दिया, पीसीएल के कंटेंट्स. और पीसीएल के कंटेंट्स में 0 ऐड करने के बाद पीसी कहां पे पॉइंट कर रहा है, यहीं पे पॉइंट कर रहा है. सपोज आपको डिस्प्ले करना है 3. जब आपको डिस्प्ले 3 करना होता है तो आप क्या करोगे, वर्किंग रजिस्टर में 3 लिख के 7 सेगमेंट ये जो रूटीन है इसको कॉल करोगे. बराबर है. तो जब आप 7 सेगमेंट रूटीन को कॉल करोगे तो आप यहां पे आओगे, पीसी ऑलरेडी यहां पे पॉइंटिंग है, लेकिन यहां पे क्या हो रहा है, जहां पे भी पीसी है उसमें वर्किंग रजिस्टर के कंटेंट्स ऐड हो रहे मींस क्या ऐड हो रहा है, 3 ऐड हो रहा है. और 3 ऐड होने के बाद पीसीएल चेंज होगा और पीसीएल चेंज होगा तो पीसी भी चेंज होगा. तो 3 ऐड होने के बाद कैसे होगा? पीसीएल चेंज कहां से कहां पे होगा? पहले यहां पे था लेकिन इसमें 3 ऐड हो गया, तो एक यहां एक ऐड होने के बाद वो यहां पे आएगा, दूसरे पे दूसरा नंबर ऐड होने के बाद यहाँ पे, थर्ड नंबर ऐड होने के बाद, 3 ऐड होने के बाद वो यहाँ पे आएगा। तो ऑटोमेटिकली आपका प्रोग्राम काउंटर जो है वो यहाँ पे रहेगा। अभी प्रोग्राम काउंटर यहाँ पे है, मींस इसके बाद डायरेक्टली इंस्ट्रक्शन एग्जीक्यूट कौन सा होगा? ये वाला इंस्ट्रक्शन एग्जीक्यूट होगा। तो ये क्या है? हर एक यहाँ पे लिखा क्या है? RETLW एंड एक कोड लिखा है, और ये जो कोड्स है, इफ यू रिकॉल कि ये जो कोड्स है यहाँ पे, ये देखो C0 F9 A4 B0 99, ये जो सीक्वेंस है यही सीक्वेंस यहाँ पे C0 F9 A4 B0 99, मीन्स ये कोड किसका है? 0 डिस्प्ले करने का, ये 1 का, ये 2 का, ये 3 का। तो ये कोड की वजह से हम क्या कर रहे हैं? तो वी आर ट्राइंग टू गेट ऑटोमेटिकली, हम वर्किंग रजिस्टर में 0 लिखेंगे और 7 सेगमेंट कोड 7 सेगमेंट सबरूटीन में जाएंगे, तो 7 सेगमेंट सबरूटीन रिटर्न क्या करेगा? वो 0 की आस्की वैल्यू रिटर्न करेगा। जब मुझे डिस्प्ले 4 करना है तो मुझे 7 सेगमेंट कोड चाहिए 4 का, तो मैं क्या करूंगा? 4 वर्किंग रजिस्टर में लिखूंगा, आई विल कॉल दैट 7 सेगमेंट रूटीन। और जब आप 7 सेगमेंट रूटीन कॉल करोगे तो ये रूटीन क्या करेगा? 4 की आस्की वैल्यू रिटर्न करेगा। ओके, सो आई होप इट मेक्स सेंस कि ये जो रूटीन है 7 सेगमेंट का, ये इसके लिए है। यहाँ पे ये सारे जो कोड्स लिखे हैं ये सिर्फ 0 to 9 डिजिट के आस्की कोड्स है, नॉट आस्की, सॉरी, 7 सेगमेंट इक्विवेलेंट कोड्स है। समझ में आ रहा है? ये 7